Reddit by Reddit recap. What really obvious thing have you only just realized? This sounds ridiculous, but I recently found out about the term knee-jerk reaction. My whole life I had been saying it how I heard it, and just figured it was spelled something like knee-jerk reaction, like it was some psychology term. Oh well. I knew it was a knee-jerk reaction, but reading your post made me think why we use that phrase. Really obvious, but not something I had thought about previously. I was 28 before I realized the meaning to the Wise 6 Afraid of 7 joke. I always just thought it was dumb. 7, 8, 9. Like you're just counting. The electric bill wasn't paid until later in my life. It's because 7 was a registered 6 offender. I didn't realize time flies like an arrow. Fruit flies like a banana wasn't absurdist humor until college. A bedroom door was broke and I finally got around to fixing it. Thought the knob was broke cause it was pushed in towards the door, so I pulled it out and realized that was how you lock the door. As a small child, like maybe age 4, my family told me the powder room door at my grandparents' house didn't lock. I had a reputation for accidentally locking myself into places, so they didn't want me locking myself in there. I guess. I was 18 before I accidentally locked the door just like that. Realized how it worked and emerged from the bathroom mortified and amused that I had gone all those years thinking the door just didn't lock. No one even remembered lying to me about the lack of lock. English is not my first language, so I was mind blown when I realized how keys, kiss, he's, his, this, these, etc. differed in sound, pronunciation. I first noticed this when I told my boyfriend I wanted a keys and he looked very confused lol. Now I try my best to pronounce them properly. Edit. Grammar. Imagine if you'd made that mistake when ordering peas. For the longest time, I always thought prima donna was prima donna. Me too. My mother would call me that and I thought she meant I was going to be a horse. Well, are you? Up until this thread, I too thought it was prima donna. The villain in Halloween is not played by Michael Myers. Get out of my swamp or I'm gonna murder ya. It'd be a lot funnier if he was. My boyfriend did not know that his electric toothbrush has a timer on it that goes off at 1 minute and 2 minutes. He actually returned it and got a new one thinking it was broken. Since the timer is just a brief sort of pause reduction in the vibration, he would be like, WTF, I literally just charged this ducking thing thinking that the battery was already dying. One day, and I can't remember exactly what the conversation was, I brought up how I liked that my toothbrush let me know when I had brushed long enough. And it was like a light bulb went off in his head and suddenly he put it together that that was what his toothbrush was doing all along. I always thought you can't have your cake and eat it. 2 was a weird saying because why wouldn't I be able to eat my freaking slice of cake? It's my cake. Nobody was telling me that I can't have my cake. Turns out they mean you can't eat the cake while also still retaining it. Once it is eaten, it is gone. An idiom I did not understand until this year. I am 27. The Italian version of this is you can have a full bottle and a drunk wife or something along those lines. The reason the cord hook on the vacuum spins is so you can take the whole cord off at once instead of unraveling it one loop at a time. Like I have been my whole life. Edit. I learned how to spell cord today. And if you wind it up as a figure 8 between the 2 hooks, when you turn the hook down and take off the whole cord, it won't get tangled up as you vacuum. Edit. My first silver for a vacuum cord comment. Recently realized I was allergic to carrots. I just thought they made everyone's mouth numb. You know. Just like almonds. I also learned recently that I have an almond allergy. Same here. Thought that raw hazelnuts don't taste good because they give this weird tingle in your mouth. Found out I had a nut allergy when it suddenly turned from tingle to anaphylaxis and I ended up in hospital for eating nut chocolate. Same. I asked my husband why carrots made your tongue itchy. I'm 35. That parents have children write letters to Santa so they can figure out what to buy them for Christmas. I can't believe how I never put that together after 32 years on this earth. I just thought it was fun little tradition. In Sweden we put those letters in the postbox with mail headed to the North Pole. In Canada you also send them in the mail to Santa Claus, North Pole, H0H0H0. And Canada Post volunteers will mail you back a letter from Santa. Our postal codes are letter, number, letter, number, letter, number. Cilantro and coriander are the same plant. One time I was at a restaurant with a friend, sharing salsa and chips. I commented that the salsa had a very strong cilantro flavor, and she commented she couldn't taste anything other than coriander. We debated the issue for a few minutes, in disbelief that the other person was tasting something completely different and couldn't pick up on the taste the other thought was prominent. When I saw coriander seeds at the store a few weeks later, I bought them to see what taste she had been talking about, and then the truth clicked. Principal building from Saved by the Bell is named Belding. 2 buildings in one building and one of them's building. Best line of the show according to younger me. For a long time I thought to bust a nut meant that you were going to kick a guy in the balls or beat him up. So anytime I was getting worked up or angry talking about some guy, I would say I'm going to bust his ducking nut, not knowing the real meaning. Nobody ever said anything, but it was always followed by my friends laughing, so I assumed it was because I was being dramatic. Years go by and my co-worker is telling me about some rude person he met, and I said you should definitely bust that guy's nut. To which he paused and said, do you even know what that means? Suffice it to say I was extremely embarrassed and horrified when he explained it to me. Edit. Oh wow. Thank you for the silver. Glad my first silver had to do with busting a nut. Peas. For those who were asking. To bust a nut where I'm from means to ejaculate everywhere or jerk someone else off. Similarly, I have a friend who didn't know what friends with benefits meant. She thought it meant like a friend from work who was literally beneficial to your work. I had a boss that was under the impression that bust a nut meant to work extremely hard. Suffice to say our team meeting ended awkwardly when Sean would tell all of us to go bust a nut after the meeting. English is fun. Busting your ass totally means to work hard. Meanwhile, breaking my balls means what OP thinks. At Big Ship's wheel I got to turn as a kid was not actually controlling the cruise ship. This jogged my memory of something. When I was around 13, I was on a flight with a bunch of other kids. I fell asleep during the flight, but woke up during some turbulence. A couple kids near me saw me wake up startled and made a big show of saying whoa. I can't believe the pilot did a barrel roll. A few other people I talked to about it confirmed it. And it took me embarrassingly far into adulthood to realize some people were just messing with me. I mean, a pilot on a commercial flight won't do that, right? Not with passengers. But amazingly, it has been done with an airliner. At a demonstration for industry officials, Boeing test pilot X Johnston was demonstrating the Boeing 707. Basically, his job was to persuade them to invest in the aircraft. Well, he was meant to do a simple flyover, but he did a barrel roll. Apparently, when his boss asked him incredulously, "What did you think you were doing?" he responded, "Selling the airplane." Fair enough. My whole life I thought pay-per-view was actually pay-per-view because I had only ever heard people say it, and only recently saw it written out. I only just today realized that the walk the plank on a boat is not a special edition pirates added to their ships as a means of public execution that looked like a little wooden diving board. It is, in fact, the very same plank as the gangplank you'd normally use to get on and off of the ship. It is not the presence of the plank that is threatening, but the absence of dock. I realized at the age of 26 that narwhals are real because they were on an Octonauts episode. I walked into the room and was like, I thought they only do real animals on this show. Then the kid's dad said, "You're joking, right?" I kept seeing the same Chinese characters on restaurant signs and I always wanted to know what it meant. A week ago I found out. They mean restaurant. This little piggy didn't go to the market to do any shopping. Wait. Then why are the other pigs eating roast beef? I feel like there's at least one of these pigs with its own agenda. Man. Pigs will eat anything. I realized that to be in one's birthday suit it means to be without clothes. I thought for the longest time it was a specific set of clothes you would wear on your birthday each year. I found out when I asked. What happens when you don't fit in your birthday suit anymore? Lol. Stretch marks happen. The first time I visited the USA I was on my own and in NY and going to all the museums. I kept seeing signs that said no strollers and though. Because we call strollers prams in the UK. That you guys are super strict about the proper amount of attention required to visit a museum. I actually pretended to show more interest than I had in order to be thugged as some deadbeat out for a casual stroll. It wasn't until about day 3 that I saw a no strollers sign that included a graphic for idiots. Oh, my first visit to the States, I went to a supermarket on my own and at the checkout the lady asked me paper or plastic? And I didn't know what she meant, so I said I have cash and she very politely didn't tell me I was an idiot. She was in fact asking what type of carrier bags I wanted my shopping putting in, instead of how I was going to pay. That actually is a pretty reasonable misunderstanding. I'm a Brit who got sucked into a holiday job doing door-to-door sales for a MLM company in the US. All the doors with signs saying no solicitors confused me. As I was neither an attorney or a rent boy, I figured I was in the clear. Fortunately, the local police took an afternoon out of my day to explain. Since you just brought it up, I went years after seeing the movie Trainspotting, thinking rent boy was just a cute folksy Scottish nickname for a guy whose name is Renton. It wasn't till I read the book and he mentions being offended by the sobriquet that I bothered to look it up. Not a term one will hear in America. That's for sure. Best comment of the day. When I was in the 5th grade, a girl in my class had forgotten to bring her signed field trip permission slip with her. It wasn't even the last time it could be turned in. She said my mom's gonna kill me. I laughed and said to just bring it tomorrow. She wasn't in class the next day, and everyone found out why. She was in the hospital with multiple stab wounds her mother had given her with a pair of barber scissors. Apparently, the mother had become increasingly deranged and abusive after she found out her husband was dating during their trial separation. The permission slip was the last straw and the mother literally tried to kill her daughter. The neighbor intervened after hearing the mother shouting, followed by my classmate shrieking and crying in agony, and beat the ever-loving shit out of the mom and called 911. The end of this story is mostly happy, in that she went to live exclusively with her father and his, very shortly after this incident, new wife. Her injuries, while nasty, didn't cause any permanent physical damage. I saw her only one more time, about a month later, and tried to apologize to her, but she just told me to go away. I'd say the moral of the story is to take everything seriously, but that's a terrible moral. So just, sometimes life really sucks.